Hi everyone, I'm Shelly from There's No Place Like Home at redheadmom8.wordpress.com. Today I'm going to be answering a question for you, and that is, what is interest-led homeschooling? Now on the surface, that might seem like a pretty simple question. Interest-led means a child following their lead, following their interests. But what exactly does that look like? Now, to be honest, there are two types of interest-led learning that I have seen in my time homeschooling, and one of them is a bit more structured but is still interest-led, and there is another that is more unstructured and that leans a bit more towards natural learning or unschooling. And what I'm going to talk to you about today, first of all, is the more structured approach to interest-led learning. Now, if you've been homeschooling for any length of time, or if you have read up on how children learn, one of the things that you are probably very aware of is that kids learn best when they are learning about things that interest them. And you know, it's a no-brainer because even we adults tend to want to learn about things that catch our eye. We're not interested in learning about things that we just honestly don't care about, and kids are the same way. So what a more structured, interest-led homeschool will look like is they will take into account the things that their kids really enjoy learning about, and they will find ways to incorporate those interests into their homeschools. So for example, if they have a child who is really into amphibians, they would probably go out there, maybe try to find an amphibian unit study, or maybe go to the library and get lots of books on amphibians and come up with some sort of lesson plan to use with their kids. They might look for textbooks or other curriculums that have a larger area of that particular topic covered, or they might look at some resources that they already have at home, whether textbooks or otherwise, to see what they have already in their house that would hit on those areas that their kids have the most interest in. And that is really how simple it is for interest-led homeschooling in a more structured house. It's really taking into account what kids are learning rather than just deciding for them what they're going to learn about. Because, you know, for the most part, that is what most people do when it comes to homeschooling. They just come up with a certain curriculum or a certain plan that they want to use with their kids, and they might ask their kids for their opinion, but for the most part they already have an idea what it is that they want their kids to learn or what it is that they think their kids have to learn. Whereas an interest-led homeschool would really have a child giving more input in that area, and they would really take that into consideration a lot more than some other homeschooling families would. Now, if you look on the other end of interest-led homeschooling, the more unstructured interest-led homeschooling, this is, as I mentioned earlier, something that is more about natural learning and can really, really look like, or even indeed be, and a method of unschooling. So what an unstructured interest-led homeschool would look like is just allowing a child plenty of time and giving them lots of resources, maybe taking them places and supporting the things that they want to know about, the things that they want to learn about, but not coming up with any sort of structured plan how to do that. It is entirely up to the child how they want to learn these things. So whether the child wants to maybe watch a documentary that day, whether a child wants to read some books about it or draw some pictures, and sometimes, yes, it is even about just letting their child, if they decide not to do that particular topic that day, they just won't do it at all. And in fact, an unstructured interest-led learning household, actually, I've got to say that for the most part, it is very, very common that kids will not be following the same topic every single day, or even different parts of the day. And you know what? Kids are like that. Adults are like that. Some kids have, you know, one interest and they just have a drive to learn about that one thing. While there are other kids who really kind of have a scattered array of interests. And so a lot of times that is what an unstructured homeschool would look like. It is just a child really going about their day, doing productive things, just that they feel like doing, something that is not told to them that they have to do, something that is really left up to them. And what a parent's job is in that type of homeschooling atmosphere is, again, just to give their kids the materials that they need in order to do it, maybe to look up some field trips if their kids ask about it, if their kids ask to maybe get some books on it, maybe taking them to the library or a bookstore. And that is really when it comes down to a parent being more of a facilitator than an actual homeschool teacher. And I have talked about this before. You know, in some homeschools, the parent takes on more of a teacher aspect, whereas in other homeschools, they take on more of a facilitator aspect. And, you know, facilitate means to make happen. So what a facilitator does is they do what they can to help their kids learn things. They help make learning happen in their home. And that is really what unstructured interest-led learning is about, is just letting kids do basically what they want to do when it comes to learning, when it comes to living. Now, you know, I've got to say that I'm not saying that it means that all interest-led households are going to be just kids sitting and flipping through the channels every day, or kids sitting and staring at their phones or their tablets every day. And while there are some families who do allow that, there are other interest-led families who have some sort of a time limit or some sort of tech time days that they allow their kids to do. So that really depends on each family. But again, what it really comes down to, whether they are structured or unstructured, is that what the child wants to learn about really takes center stage in that homeschool. And that, in a nutshell, is what interest-led learning is. I hope that I have not made it too confusing for you, because it is honestly so much easier than I think we tend to believe it is. And a lot of us homeschool parents, I think that we really complicate things sometimes. And even when you say something like interest-led learning, because we're so used to just scheduling everything and having everything completely lined up, that we have no idea how in the world interest-led learning would ever happen in a household. But that is really what it's about, is just letting kids learn about the things that they are interested in, whether you are giving them activities that have to do with those interests, or whether you are just giving them plenty of space, plenty of time, plenty of resources, and just letting them have at it. Anyway, that's all that I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one down below. And if you like my work, I encourage you to check out my Patreon page and see what resources I have for my patrons there. And I hope you have a good day.